and welcome to Telewizja Republika. Shipwreck of the day. Warriors of the special unit of Ukrainian armed forces destroyed the Russian missile corvette Ivanovets of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. As a result of number of direct hits to the hull, the corvette was damaged, rolled to the stern, and sank. The value of the ship is approximately $60 to $70 million. Nice job, warriors, reads the official tweet of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. That's the tweet, and that's the footage. Boom. This blast marks the last seconds of the ship. Tender Austin account wrote this about that particular operation. And that's a quote of what they published over there. The Ukrainian Ministry of Defense released absolutely spectacular footages of an USV attack against Russian corvette Ivanovets, Project 12411, near the Russian-occupied peninsula of Crimea. The Russian corvette got hit by at least 2, possibly 3 Ukrainian USVs. You clearly see a gaping hole midship from the previous USV when another USV rams the Ivanovets. The spectacular explosion in the end marks also the end of the ship. Congratulations to this absolute professional operation, end quote. As those things happen, the United States announced a $2.6 billion military aid package for Ukraine to support its conflict against Russian forces. This assistance, this aid, includes ammunition for HIMARS artillery systems and Patriot air defense systems, with $500 million drawn from U.S. stockpiles and $2.1 billion through the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative for direct procurement from the defense industry. The aid aims to provide Ukraine with essential battlefield equipment, including anti-armor systems, small arms, and support for air defense. Ukrainian officials, including President Volodymyr Zelensky and Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, expressed gratitude, emphasizing the importance of timely support. Meanwhile, Russia criticized, what a surprise, the move, alleging it would prolong the conflict and increase civilian casualties. Well, what the hell? Who's gonna kill those civilians? You bastards, you Russian bastards. It's like, those kind of statements are just incredible. We got used to them for a long time, but it's like someone who is defending against attacker on the street is being criticized for defending himself, because if he defends himself longer, the attack will last longer. That's incredible. The European Union leaders have unanimously approved another package, 50 billion aid package for Ukraine. That's in euros, overcoming Hungary's initial resistance. The significant financial commitment aimed at supporting Ukraine from 2024 to 2027 has garnered positive reactions from various EU officials and Ukrainian leaders. European Council President Charles Michel highlighted the agreement as demonstration of the EU's leadership and commitment to providing long-term predictable funding for Ukraine, emphasizing the importance of what is at stake. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed gratitude as the last time, noting the decision underscores the EU's strong unity and the crucial support for Ukraine's economic and financial stability. EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, European Parliament President Roberta Metsola, and other EU leaders echoed those statements and sentiments, emphasizing the package's role in aiding Ukraine's recovery, reconstruction, and path to EU membership, as well as ensuring Europe's security. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba called it a historic step, dismissing any nations of fatigue or warning support within the EU. The consensus among EU members showcases a unified stance in backing Ukraine both now and in the future, reinforcing the EU's promise and solidarity with Ukraine in its struggle for freedom. That's official claim and that's official position of EU, so it's worth remembering that those nice words always come with some second thoughts. Why does it take so long? And why those European leaders who are so happy and full of those nice words right now didn't provide all the things that were needed for Ukraine to throw back Ruskies away from their territory, and why the Ukraine support was linked to the way that EU transforms itself in terms of lifting and deleting the veto power of EU member states as a kind of blackmail that Ukraine will be invited to Europe only if those kind of solutions are going to be voted by the governments inside. And that brings us to the question of Hungary, because the European deal includes specific concessions to Hungary, such as an annual European Commission report on the aid's implementations, leaders' level debate on the package, and a potential review of the new budget in 2 years. Additionally, a line was added to ensure the evaluation of the rule of law in Hungary by the European Commission is conducted fairly and objectively, addressing Orban's concerns related to this 6.3 billion of EU cohesion funds previously frozen over the rule of law shortcomings. This is the case that we've seen. And we remember all these things related to Poland, but there was an election process in Poland, and the EU pressure on Poland was effective, and new government of my home country do not have concerns and problems of the kind that Viktor Orban has right now, because basically there is no risk of any kind of veto from the current Polish government, which is led by the former EU President Donald Tusk. That's what we are going to talk about on our program tonight. Before you go and before we invite you to the rest of the program, you can join us on rackracon.com. That's our website. You can leave us your email. We will report you and send you our daily reports on things that are going on different front lines of the war against the West that we are trying to cover, because as usual, that's what we are going to talk about on my show. My name is Michał Rachoń. This is Rackracon. And we roll in.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
And here to talk about all those things is one and only Steve Moore. Great to see you again on our show. Haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, man. Listen, I've been in the United States of America mostly, that and the incredible, crazy, bizarre event of Davos as well. So, I've been around the world.
So let's jump in those two. Actually, when we talked when we exchanged messages a couple of days ago, when I told you that when I asked you if you are back on the front lines in Ukraine, you answered that actually the Russian-Ukraine war front line is in Washington, D.C., where you spent last 2 months. So tell us about this new aid package and about all those things that are related to the Ukrainian aid or American aid to Ukraine and the border protection issue, which is a huge story right now and kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, it is completely crazy. The world is the craziest I've ever seen it right now, and Washington D.C. is perhaps the epicenter of craziness. And so I spent most of the time since September in Washington D.C. talking to members of Congress and their staff. We talked to about 100 congressional offices, almost all Republicans. There's only about about 270 Republicans. So I talked to a considerable chunk of Republicans on Capitol Hill over the last couple of months. And here's what I'm seeing is that in the big picture, most of the House of Representatives, most of the U.S. Senate, and most of the American people want aid to Ukraine to pass through Congress and for Ukraine to continue to be supported by the American people. And they recognize the value. They recognize that it's only been a small 2.5% of our Pentagon's budget to get Vladimir Putin's warfighting capacity degraded by half. But the problem is that the Russians have this amazing disinformation campaign that is impacting Republican voters. And any special interest in Washington, D.C. could generate phone calls to a congressional office. And it makes a difference because, as an example, I was talking to one Republican member of Congress from a rural district, a farming district, and he usually gets 30 calls a day, maybe 50 calls a day of his voters telling him, vote for this, don't vote for this, I've got a pothole in front of my house, that sort of thing. And one day he got 700 telephone calls from his voters telling him not to support aid to Ukraine.
Hold on, let's stop for a second, because Steve, you are the one who, on our program, appealed to the people in U.S. to influence your congressmen, your senators, the people who you vote for, to do it. This scale that you just told us about is huge. Is it a natural, real effect, or is it a kind of operation that affects the politicians that you are talking about?
Completely, we call it astroturf because the term is grassroots, and when you talk about the grassroots are the normal everyday voters that vote for members of Congress that have opinions about things. And so fake grassroots is astroturf, and anybody with enough money can buy telephone calls to a congressional office. And so I don't know what the going rate these days are for calls to congressional offices, but someone paid a lot of money to generate 700 calls, which is like, what is that? That's like, 14 times, if you get 50 calls a day, 700 calls in one day is just a complete statistical anomaly. So this is what Republicans are facing, is that there is a sophisticated campaign that is driving their voters to dislike Ukraine, and there's not a similar effort on behalf of Ukraine. So it's a very lopsided effort.
That's an absolute. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the term astroturfing, because it is actually. I remember when we had a discussion about a similar operation in Poland 5-6 years ago. It was ridiculed, and this term astroturfing was ridiculed on a Polish political scene. But leaving that aside, because we are not talking here about internal political things in European states. This is the scale of the level of disinfo campaign that Russia, I assume, is able to organize in United States, capitalizing on the fact that this is a free country and people can operate, and those kind of operations are legal, which is one of the weaknesses of democratic system itself. It's a problem that Western countries face since communist times.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to be fair, any special interest in Washington can generate these sort of phone calls. It's a matter of calling the company that does it, paying them a large amount of money, and then watching the phone calls come in. So it just happens that the pro-Russian forces are the ones doing it in this instance.
That's incredible. You mentioned Washington, D.C. However, we do have this kind of situation of political influence, but we also have an aid package that was announced not so long time ago. And at the same time, we do have certain doubts that American flow of money can be sustained for a longer time. Is that true? Is the aid support, is the American support for Ukraine in danger?
Yes, it's very much in danger, and it could go either way. There is no guarantees, and here's some of the, like, I'm in Kyiv right now. I drove in here. I was welcomed by 21 Russian cruise missiles and 20 drones. And now U.S. Patriot missiles took all those out, as they frequently do, almost always do. But how many more Patriots are in the Patriot missile bank near my house? And so that's something I think of. I've got a lot of friends near the front, and I've heard from 3 different people in the last 2 days that they are just out of ammo. And so this is for real. And the last 2 cities I've heard that have been taken by the Russians have just been because the Ukrainians don't have anything to fight back. So this is for real. And, how did we get here? Well, President Biden linked border security with aid to Ukraine, aid to Taiwan, and aid to Israel in October. This came in a letter from his director of the Office of Management Budget in the White House. And, which is actually not a bad idea, because because of the Russian disinformation, the Republican voters don't like aid to Ukraine. But their most important issue, by 2-1 over the next one, is border security. Republicans are fervent about border security, and so are the rest of America. 74% of Americans, according to a recent NBC poll, want increased border security, including 58% of Democrats. And 2/3 of Americans, according to the Harvard poll, think the Republicans are doing the right thing by delaying Ukraine aid until
but
the border
Steve,
security
this
comes.
is very interesting, but this is madness in the same time, because there is no alternative. Either you protect your border, being the global superpower, or you support Ukraine, because the problem with the border, as far as I understand it, is the problem of a certain policy that it's run on purpose. I mean, decision not to protect border is a political decision of a certain government and a certain political choice that those people have made a long time ago. So spending more money won't solve the problem if the decision was made not to protect borders.
Yeah. Listen, man, I don't get it either. But if you look at the statistics, as I frequently do, like the New York Times just published something that showed that the average number of illegal border crossings until Biden took office, from 2000 until Biden took office, was about 700,000 a year. And during the Biden administration, it's been north of 2 million every year. So, it's just an amazing, amazing jump. And again, it should be an easy vote for Democrats, because everybody wants increased border security. But they've been negotiating this thing since October. Usually when the president makes a proposal saying, you deliver this, you deliver the aid to Ukraine votes, I'll deliver the votes for border security, and they get on with it, right? But Biden can't deliver. So they've been negotiating for 3 months. And, there's more problems at the border. There's less ammunition in Ukraine.
If we add the indications that show that the flow of migrants is also a kind of process that is being fueled by certain political decisions of other state players, and there are at least indications that this is the case. And if we remember the switch and the statistics that changed the European migration flow after Merkel's Willkommen politic, looks like we've heard a similar Willkommen by American politicians. What caused the jump in numbers that you just mentioned? Steve, but you've been also on another front of the same global with the capital G frontline, which is Davos. You delivered a speech over there. So what happened in Mr. Schwab's capital place, and what was the way that the Russian war in Ukraine was treated and understood in Davos?
So it's easy to make fun of Davos, okay? Because, there's the inclusivity lounge, which you have to have a pass to get into. and there's equality this, equality that, every place, and it's all the most wealthy and powerful people on earth, right? So it is absurd in many ways, but at the same time, it is a good audience for to talk to some of the most powerful people on earth about some of the most pressing problems. And Ukraine has had that ability. They've done very well. The Ukraine House. Actually, the Ukraine House was awarded by Political Magazine the best house at Davos. So they're very effective in getting their message out. So I was really pleased to be able to have the opportunity to speak there. And I basically told the gathered globalists what I just told you, and that I brought the Republican point of view to Davos, and so, and I think it's important that the two sides talk to each other, the two sides understand each other, because typically the folks at Davos don't need anything from the Republicans. The Republicans want nothing to do with the people at Davos. But right now, if the Europeans want additional American weapons to keep the Russians out of their backyards, they need to pay attention to what the Republicans are saying and doing.
Yeah, the big question mark is, do they really want Russians out of the backyard? I'm not sure if that's the case, but this is a big question mark of all our debates and discussions in this program since the Russian attack on Ukraine began. Steve, my final question. We talked about drones and we talked about aerial unmanned vehicles over and over again. You showed us some very interesting footage of drones that are being used and dropping different things on the surface. But what we saw last 24 hours when Ukraine Ministry of Defense published a stunning video of unmanned boats, USVs as they called, attacking Russian ship. What is your assessment of the changes in the drone technology? This is the first drone war on this scale, and this is probably the first naval war that are fought on this scale with this kind of devices. And when the side that actually do not have a fleet like this, Ukraine does not have a fleet of that kind, is winning this war in many ways.
Yeah, it's crazy. Again, the world is crazy right now, right? Ukraine, that has a navy smaller than that of the almost landlocked desert country of Jordan, has destroyed 20-some ships in the Russian Black Sea Fleet. The Russian Black Sea Fleet is hiding from the Ukrainians, and it's opened up the corridor for grain. Africa is eating because of the Ukrainian Navy, and so it's just amazing. And I got to tell you, and I've said this before, you've heard this, this, the Ukrainians are the most innovative people in the world when it comes to defending their homeland. It's just amazing the technology they developed. They're striking into Russia. They've blown up railroad tracks in the Far East that lead to China. These guys are amazing. By any measure, again, we've got a stalemate at the ground war, but by any other measure, these guys are kicking butt.
We were trying to find some nice pictures of those USVs. We couldn't find one, so we just published a traditional boat.
As far as we know, that's what they look like.
Yeah. Steve, thank you very much for your presence. Keep it up. Stay safe. And we are waiting for more reports from this front lines of war that Stephen Moore is visiting quite often. Thanks a lot, Stephen. All the best to you. All the best to your fundraising effort and help Ukraine defending its borders.
Tell people to come see me at UkraineFreedomProject.org. So thanks a lot, man.
You can also find Stephen Moore on Substack, as we are present on Substack as well.
Yeah.
So leave
co-Substackers.
drop Stephen a line. Leave him your email so that you can be in contact with Stephen Moore. Steve, thanks a lot.
I would love that.
See you soon.
Always a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, man. See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the address that you can find our Substack, rackracon.com. So leave us your email, and we will try to send you our daily reports of the war, from the war, that we are trying to follow, to watch, and report daily. Our YouTube links are also shared on the Substack. If you do want to dive deeper into the issues that we are interested in, you can become our subscriber. All the things related to Substack, you'll find it on our website, which is the name racracon.com. See you soon. Ciao!